want to crowdsource this because, like, Substack. Um, the reason I'm going to crowdsource this is because I'm kind of in limbo right now. Hold on. I got it now. I'm just trying to see what it looks like. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so it doesn't look like I'm a complete hoarder. So that's always a good thing, right? Okay, so I have this lovely, you can't really see it on here. I'm not going to try and show it to you. Well, I would, but I have to fix some grammar, and then I also have to fix some dates. But other than that, it's done. And what I mean done is this is the crowdsourcing part where you guys come in, or where somebody may come in. Maybe somebody sees this and goes, "Oh God, what are you doing? Don't fucking do it." Right? We can hope. You would think public content, publicly available data, public contracts that I found on school board websites in DeKalb County. An individual who Devon Horton brought to DeKalb County named Sarita Smith. All of that public knowledge. Okay. And here's the preface of why I'm crowdsourcing this, because I've kind of been in a stalemate. I don't know if anybody's picked up on this, but I'm just going to say it out loud because at this point, literally, there's a pissing contest going on with one of the attorneys who hopefully doesn't get the bid. Um, Having the audacity to ask my attorney once again to have me show him, not the district, show him, the attorney, how I'm able to see my data publicly, and also show him how I was able to find out that they were using Thomas Reuters Clear ID on me. Not only one email, 2 emails. And so this right here, that again, I would love to splash on the screen, but there's some names. I'm not slandering. There's no libel involved. I'm not messy. Okay? So hear me out on this. I'm just gonna kind of like do my little project because see what I'm doing right now is I'm actually making a gift for my child's teacher. Because she is absolutely hands down the most amazing human I've ever encountered. Well, sans the amazing women that started my son's school. Um, but her teacher, good Lord. Do y'all know how refreshing it is to find a teacher who, sorry, yes, I am using a blade to cut this paper. Anyway, so my son, or my daughter's teacher is this amazing unicorn, and she understands things regarding what my daughter and son were both gifted with, thanks to my shitty genetics, which means both of my kids are dyslexic. Now, my daughter is nowhere near my son's level of dyslexia. Oh, please. I need more light. I can't see what I'm doing. So my son, this is just purely so I can see what I'm cutting here. My son, I don't know if people know, but my son's dyslexia was like extremely dominating, to the point that he was diagnosed in pre-K. My daughter is a me. And when I say a me, she is likely, she's got straight A's and everything. She does mental math, so that's not a me thing. That is my mom's side of the family thing. So case can be argued that's like the spidey strength within my family as it pertains to all the dyslexics in my family, because my sister is an insane genius in all things math. My mother is, my father is, my son is. So the mental math thing, let's just say it skipped me, but went to my kids. So I'm grateful for that one. But yeah, she's got straight A's and everything. The concern with her though isn't like this shiny object syndrome, but this is just a sidebar. Because I did close down my pesky dyslexia parent everything, because I no longer have the desire to advocate for every single child when I've done my job. I mean, shit. We got all that legislation in place. We got all that free professional development, acquired professional development for all these teachers out here. And, I have a bone to pick with that just because the pure audacity of these individuals and the state who chose teaching as a career to get up in their feelings when they are offered professional development for free. Not only for free, because we made it mandatory here in Georgia, not only are they getting it for free, they get a stipend if they participate. Think about that. If. Why do they get a stipend? Let me tell you the secret. Because educators in my state, I'm going to say my state. I don't really know what the landscape looks like for everybody else, but educators in my state, honey, these people wild out and get offended that they're being asked to do professional development. Now, everybody knows in corporate America, everybody knows in like every field where we work, if we're not a teacher, we have ongoing professional development. Our job, our learning never stops. And just because we're, that's how the world works. But let me get back to it. So the professional development is not only mandatory per legislation that I said, come hell or high water, I was going to make happen. I said I was going to override local control, and I'll be damned if I didn't do that. Well, with the assistance of a couple of other individuals who I will leave out of this conversation because they honestly don't deserve the breath, any space in my brain, even though I still somehow live rent free in their heads based off of the absolutely insane messages I receive from one of them, who I guess they thought she was the ally because she was the only one that I hadn't blocked from everything. No, honey. When you slid up into my DMs and you started talking smack, you proved my fucking point. You just let me know and everybody else know how much fucking money is involved in this whole literacy space. That's sidebar. Again, that's why I don't advocate for kids and literacy anymore, because I did my job, kept my promise, overrode local control, and I'm moving on. That's why I no longer have pesky dyslexia parent. But I'm making it present for my child's teacher because, and this is going to lead into the crowdsourcing of if I should send this or not. I just want to be a mom. All right, so parents don't wake up one day, by the way, and just choose violence and oh, hey, I think it would be really fun if I engaged with a public school district who is armed to the teeth with attorneys and $3 billion in their piggy bank. We don't wake up one day and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to wake up and choose violence and pick a fight with them. We don't do that. Even with loud parents like me who stand 10 toes down with their whole chest and say, oh, hell no, fuck you. You are not crossing my line in the sand. I still, at my core, want to just be like the PTA mom who brings cookies and goes on field trips. I've said that. And I'm going to remain the course on that because that's still what I want to do. Hence, me making a gift for my daughter's teacher because that woman loves my daughter, literally loves my daughter, goes out of her way, does all the things for my daughter that nobody has ever afforded my son, nobody ever afforded me, right? Meaning in-depth conversations, the appropriate data, the appropriate approach, the appropriate conversation of I'm worried about her self-confidence. I know she's going to learn to read. That's not what worries me at night. It's I don't want her to lose her confidence. I don't want her to ever think she's stupid. Now, the reason that that's important is because with all that professional development that we put out there into the ether, with all that legislation, the thing that they fucked up with and ain't on me to roll back around and show them how they fucked up on that. All that, uh, what we didn't what we didn't fix was the fact that you cannot teach somebody empathy. You can't teach them empathy. So we got a lot of teachers out here in their fields getting paid. Oh, by the way, this is also why. Like, look at this. I have to hang it on my tree. It's like a cute little ornament that her teacher and my daughter and her teacher made for me. Like, you see that? That's fucking legit, right? That's legit. Come on, who the fuck? Is that who just got home? I don't know who that is. I thought he hadn't. I'm confused. I guess I'm not gonna. Yeah, he's here. That's my husband. That's okay. But if he comes in, you'll see him. Although I should probably give him a heads up. Should I give him a heads up? Hmm. Mm, I'm just kind of giving him a heads up so he doesn't come up here doing some stunts that he does. So I've got shiny object syndrome like a motherfucker, but I'm going to stay on course now. Okay, so I'm creating a gift for my daughter's teacher because I fucking love her. She knows how to fight. She knows how to stand her ground. And we've kind of become like allies in this because essentially they weren't doing tutoring. Well, not essentially. So they weren't implementing what I know to work as it pertains to teaching a child to read whom has dyslexia within general ed. And it's the model we use to get my son to read. And so she and I have been able to somehow break through and get it across to everybody that, hey, it doesn't work afterwards. We need to do it during the school day. Weird, right? It's not weird at all. I can prove it. Well, anyway, all this to say is that I am making a present for her and I'm going to crowdsource this. Now I'm going to start where I began. Now, you heard me mention that no parent wakes up and chooses violence. No parent wakes up and wants to pick a fight with an attorney or with a school district armed to the teeth with lawyers who charge $350,000 a month. And none of us, and I truly mean this, none of us want to find ourselves in the crosshairs of a battle that seems to never end. In my case, it just keeps happening. I mean, this is the messed up part. I sent proof that I, at no time, was on the bad side of things in this district. I have been out here trying to save this district from themselves for far too long. Again, my son's not even enrolled there anymore. Why? We sued and got him out. That's why. Hold. Um, yeah, we sued in May of 2020 and got him out. Let me see if my husband read this so he doesn't walk up here acting out because he gonna act out. That's what he loves to do. Aw, look at Bear. That's my baby. Hold on. It's my nephew. Yeah. So I don't really know how to cut. Okay, so crowdsource this. This is going on into the gift, right? So should I cut down here or trying to find the perfect angle to go in on this because I don't want to. I don't want to chop Ruth's head off. That would not be in good form. Anyway, so this district that I sued to get my son out of in May of 2020 due to a set of unfortunate events that continue to play out to this motherfucking day. After that, after I got him to what I considered safety, which wasn't safety at all, which ended up, traumatizing him more than the fucking district somehow. Private schools, fancy fucking private schools, they do it every fucking time. Goddamn policies and their fucking hazing, or lack of hazing policies. Gotta love the rich folks. Anyway, I sued them to protect my son and get him out of harm's way because he'd been a verbal punching bag and literal punching bag since he entered into the district in kindergarten. So, my son, we've established, was already on an IEP when he entered into the district, into kindergarten. He had an IEP for dyslexia and dysgraphia. And what was it? There was another one. Oh, the one that started it was his expressive receptive language. And then there's also comes along with a lot of isms, or he did at that age, which all children do. But that's a whole sidebar conversation. Anyway, much to my dismay, no matter how much I told people that you are literally trying to place my son on a behavior plan based off of your personal feelings and lack of knowledge as it pertains to how a child behaves when they are being gaslit by a teacher who is woefully uninformed about all the not fun stuff that comes along with the diagnosis. And that diagnosis brings a litany of things such as anxiety, ADHD. These are the comorbidities. Anxiety, ADHD, RSD, which is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which it's essentially when the anxiety and the ADHD and the trauma collide. Our kids and parents, adults, I know I'm guilty of it. We just can't take like the neck, like if somebody's voice raises, if like our brain has identified that as a trigger, yeah, that's a dyslexic. It comes in, but again, there was no need for a school district to allow my son to be treated like a verbal punching bag and literal punching bag by woefully inadequate staff who had not, I don't know, they didn't even have children. And so, there's an argument to be made there too. I'm going to get to where I'm going, but you have to have the background on it, right? So the argument can be made. Well, if a teacher who's, this cute little wet behind the ear teacher who went to UGA and did all the right things and they got the money, their parents have the money and they're endorsed and blah, blah, all, they got all these fancy endorsements, which, by the way, don't mean shit, especially in the state of Georgia. If you have that outdated reading endorsement, you can't even fucking teach a kid in a classroom anymore. Meaning you can't teach ELA. Hmm. You're not allowed to touch kids in public schools in Georgia if you have an outdated reading endorsement. So, which I know for a fact several teachers are doing. And, I could pull the trigger on that too. I mean, it's all dependent on the level of where they want me to go. When I say they, I mean my former district. Because again, they've chosen violence, not me. I've been in a legal setting with them since I came across some very sketchy contracts. And I also got into the crosshairs of their legal team because I'm such a see something, do something person, see something, say something person. I had the audacity to tip the district off. Hey, if you don't fucking fix this, you're going to have a class action lawsuit hit you. I literally warned them how not to get sued and how to prevent them from being sued. Why would I do that? Why would I extend grace to a school district who diagnosed or who induced PTSD and trauma inside my child and myself while in their schools? Why would I do that? Well, I did it because whenever you're working with a district, you always kind of want to have a somewhat friendly relationship. It's just it's a very stupid mentality to go in guns blazing as an advocate and work against the district at all times. Like that doesn't benefit anybody, and it damn sure does not benefit the child you're advocating for. Speaking from experience on that. So it's more beneficial if you can actually work with the district. And so over the how many fucking years have they been in my goddamn life? 11 years, going on 12 years now, motherfuckers. So in those years, I was also able to gain the respect of individuals in the district who work inside central office to the point that I was hired to deliver, or not hired, I was given a contract to deliver professional development to all of their administrators and all of their principals regarding literacy and legislation. And I signed the contract and I delivered that professional development in the district that I had sued, not once, but twice by that point. So in February of 2023, I entered into another agreement with this district after they violated my 2020 NDA within 2 months. And so by 2022, I kind of got really, really fucking mad and decided, you know what? I'm done with this because I just heard my son's name mentioned in a meeting for another child that I'm in attendance for. And it came from the very person who effed everything up the first time. So, yeah. I had known that my district violated my NDA within 2 months for years. I just sat on it. I was like, nah, whatever. Mainly because I was terrified. I was terrified that I was going to be hit with some kind of monetary something because the wording and the verbiage in that agreement kind of tried to lay all the blame on the parent or at my feet. Like, God, if I said anything. So this is the misconception, is that when you sign an agreement with a public entity, they've got their stipulations, they've got all their verbiage in there, right? At the end of the day, turns out it's very loosely worded. And furthermore, as long as you stick to facts, turns out you can talk about it. I digress. I kept my mouth shut for years, and everybody was wondering what happened. You went from being extremely loud, raising hell in the media, fighting like hell publicly all the time, to nowhere to be found. Well, yeah, it couldn't be found because, um, yeah, I low key wasn't allowed to, or thought so. But also, I was really, really, really trying to disengage and heal from years and years of gaslighting and years of this. You name it, they fucked it up. You name it, they did it. You name it, they found some way to fuck themselves up every time. I did their job for them. They're that fucking lazy. I was doing their job I was teaching these motherfuckers who make like upwards of like 300 grand a fucking year. I was teaching them how to do their fucking job, which is why my original podcast and my original project was named How Not to Get Sued by a Mom. So, in January, no, let me roll this back. I gotta get my timeline right because it's important now. So, in September of 2022, I pulled the trigger on due process by myself. I didn't give a fuck about an attorney being attached to it. I knew what my fucking rights were, and the Georgia DOE told me, go forth and sue. They violated not only your confidentiality, they violated your son's confidentiality, thus violating your agreement with them and us as a state. So, sue them. I was like, okay. So I went into due process again. Now, I went in there and my attorney didn't like the way the original dipshit in 2022 replied. So my attorney filed a motion of appearance, which is normal, and then he clapped back and, put teeth into it and scared the ever-living shit out of that little girl, to the point that she was literally begging my attorney to make me stop being mean. To which I said, I'm not that dumb. I would never actually say her name or their name publicly. I mean, if she's in her feels because she thinks I'm being mean, well, maybe they shouldn't have violated my confidentiality, and maybe they shouldn't have violated my son's confidentiality and a whole slew of other shit. Anyway, so I ended up settling that suit within, well, shit. It took from September of 22 until February of 23 to get through the second due process. This shows you how woefully inadequate attorneys are in this setting, because if it were just a conversation between me and the people that I actually got promoted into these positions, then they would have just said, here, go away, we're sorry, and they would have fixed it. But I digress. There's no grounds for stating that I have done anything at any time since that agreement to mess our relationship up. In fact, these individuals contacted me to deliver professional development on literacy and legislation because I was the one that made sure I got it done. I told them in May of 2020 on my way out, come hell or high water, I will make sure I override local control, and you will be made to teach children to read. I stuck to that promise, and they knew it. Plus, one of the first literacy bills in the state came about due to my son's story. His story, along with, I think there were like 4, maybe 5 other stories, used to launch the Dyslexia Task Force here in Georgia under Fran Miller. My son and I lived in Fran's district, so it kind of gave him more teeth to use my son's story. I had no knowledge of Georgia Poll or decision making and local control at that point. I was just pitching in. Um, so again, they had me come deliver the professional development to make sure their administrators and their principals were in compliance with the legislation that was starting, even though they had known about this legislation since 2019 because they put their bid in to be a pilot district for the bill due to the success of my son being taught to read in a public school in their district. True story. I still have that RFP. Um, Long story short, I created a working relationship with the district or select individuals within the district, including Cheryl. Now, Cheryl, it still breaks my heart that Cheryl's gone. Cheryl was a good one. Cheryl, despite whatever flaws the then board reps saw, she was better than anybody we've ever had. And, there's a lot to be said now because we are in this spot where we have a now indicted, think about it, the word, a now indicted former superintendent because he was doing some fuck shit. So this is where my conscience comes into play. So there's an argument that's always going to be made by an ALJ or by the other side because it's always upon the parent to do burden of proof, which factually inaccurate because the Supreme Court ruled that it's not on the parent to prove burden of proof anymore. It's the district. So I kind of low-key need to go back to OCGA and or to my friends in the legislative body here in Georgia and say, hey, by the way, you need to update this because per the Supreme Court ruling over the summer, the burden of proof is no longer on the parent. So why am I staring at a motion or a notice of hearing, notice of appearance, notice of filing? Why am I, look, hold on, you guys. Apparently, I need to charge my device. Please hold, because otherwise, bitch is going to die on me. Please hold. Oh, fucks. What have I done did? I did not know that I did that. Hold on now. Damn, dude, just come out. Okay, thank you. Is it charging now? Close. It's charging. We're good. We're in good hands now. Sorry. Anyway. Kind of lost where I was at. You have to love ADHD. Moving on. I do need to engage with the legislators that I've worked with for years here in Georgia to notify them about that whole burden of proof thing. It's no longer on the parent to prove the burden of proof. Even if the parent is the one that initiates due process, it's not incumbent upon the parent to prove the burden of proof. It's incumbent upon the public agency. Supreme Court ruled that. But, in today's political climate, who gives a fuck, right? Nobody gives a fuck about the Supreme Court. Not that the Supreme Court's doing anybody any fucking favors anymore because, King Oompa Loompa gets whatever he fucking wants and he throws a tantrum. That's a whole sidebar story. But, an argument will be made by the other side if this goes to court that me, the filing party, as a parent, engaged in unflattering behavior or some fuck shit that attorneys always say about parents whenever they take them into their process. They always use the argument of, well, we, meaning the district and the attorneys representing the district, have done everything you've asked. It's not our fault that blah, blah, blah. I know, they'll give a list of things. And typically it's nothing but bullshit, gaslighting, and untrue. I truly mean this. It's always untrue. I've seen these arguments numerous times. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Mom didn't wake up and choose violence. You assholes could have done something as simple as provide their child vape. And you wouldn't be in court with mom. You would not be in front of a fucking judge yet again. But you chose violence. You chose stupid, not mom. Mom is exercising her parental and her procedural safeguards under IDEA and under OCGA and under several other sections within U.S. Code 20 Education subsection. There's about 50 of them, so I'm not going to fucking rattle those off. Context matters in this case because burden of proof, right? Now, if I were to go into the court setting with the fuck shit that I've been dealing with, I would be able to not only subpoena absolutely every individual who has worked for the district at some point and been fired by proxy of me reporting their dumb fuckery. I'd be able to subpoena board reps because they ain't got immunity in this because they're complicit. I'd be able to subpoena the attorneys because they're complicit because of phone calls, unsolicited phone calls at that, to which my 16-year-old heard what he heard. And then in the other unsolicited phone call on July 1st that I recorded because I could tell that they were recording. Yeah. So that's how I can subpoena the fucking attorneys. There's that. So I can subpoena them. I could subpoena the now indicted superintendent. Not that he's worth a shit, but there are individuals still working in the district who are wholeheartedly complicit in this fuck shit that I, as a good human, tried to prevent. I went to them, and actually I went to several attorneys that I know who represent school districts and said, you need to fix this shit now. I was proactive. Those that I went to did their job. However, my district chose stupid. Imagine that. Not them. Not the district that had the fucking governor come in and take over. Not the district who had board reps removed by the sitting governor at the time because of the fiscal mismanagement and all kind of fuck shit that they were guilty of. Only for us to realize when that dude, or when those folks were removed, about $200 million went missing that time. It's happened more than once. Meaning, whenever somebody leaves, some high profile bullshit, whatever, there's always money that goes missing with these motherfuckers. And in the case of the now indicted former superintendent in my district, yeah, we got, I think he's up to about 200 million missing as well in SPOST. We know that to be accurate because we have photo proof of him standing next to my former board rep, who was a CPA, who had a child on an IEP, and who had an attorney on top of the district the entire time her child was in their schools. She was hell-bent on proving that there was still about $200 million missing in SPOS funds. We'd had every kind of audit you could think of. And every audit came back stating material breach or deficiencies and stuff of that nature, which if you have an audit, a forensic audit in your district, you never want to hear the word material or material. What's the other one? Insufficiency. Like there's all there's a there's like a I would know it if I weren't doing an art project at the same time, but whatever. You don't want to have a forensic audit coming back stating material. The findings were, I'm just going to break it down in layman's terms. The findings revealed some really sloppy shit, and to the point that when they were doing the audit, the district had a problem being able to supply the individuals doing the audit or conducting the audit with data to prove why there was a purchase but no purchase order, why there was a payment but no invoice number, why there was a check with nobody on that check. Yep. That's what the forensic audit said, but, we didn't need a forensic audit to prove that because, shit, folks like me, and I think, there's like a handful of us who have been babysitting this district for years. And that means we've been watching their fucking finances for years as well. Especially me, because, in a former life prior to losing my job because of this fuck shit. Well, I won't even say that, but let's just say at one point in time I dabbled. One of my roles at my former employer was a financial analyst. Why not? Yeah, put the person who hated math and had math trauma and a fucking aversion to math to the point that she dropped college track in high school and went vocational because she said, fuck that. Yeah, me. I was a financial analyst. It was really fucking good. In fact, I redid the whole goddamn framework for that conglomerate of a corporation. Meaning I remapped every single market and spent 2 years on that project with what I do best, and that is automating SQL programming, SAS programming. I don't know if any of this rings a bell to anybody. I don't know if anybody gives a fuck, but yeah, my background is programming, cybersecurity, working with sensitive data, things of that nature. That's what I've done my entire career. Systems admin. I think I was 20. Yeah, I was 25 when I became a systems admin, which is unheard of. Especially if I didn't even graduate high school. True story. I had like 2 months. Yeah, 2 months, and I was like, I don't really see the benefit of me fucking doing this. Like, I've already seen what the real world looks like. I've been working since I was a kid because my mom worked in a law firm. And if your mom works in a law firm, it's kind of well known that you become like an unpaid employee around like 13, 14 years old. I make 14. And then so by 16, I had become a clerk for a now sitting Supreme Court judge in Georgia. True story. The reason that I quit and didn't continue the dumbassery known as public education was because that said Supreme Court clerk, or not clerk, that said Supreme Court judge was dyslexic. And he was the one that told my mom, after years and years and years of my mom fighting for my sister, who is dyslexic, he's the one that told her, you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. You're going to lose your relationship with your daughter if you keep having her participate in this stupid ritual of spelling tests. This is what spell check is for. It won't be relevant later in life. And you need to pick your daughter instead of this fight. Yep. That's what that Supreme Court judge here in Georgia said to my mother. And then he later, I was a clerk for him, and I remember him telling me, why are you still enrolled in public school? Why are you still doing it? Why are you participating in this event that you're participating in? Because you're too smart. You need to go do what I know you can do. And you need to go prove to a whole bunch of people that just because you're a female doesn't mean you can't make it in a male-dominated industry. By the way, this is looking well. So I did. I left, and I have been working since then. Got my GED within, I think, was it a week or 2 weeks? Yeah, I got my GED within 2 weeks. Didn't take the pre-test or anything like that. Back then, you had to take a pre-test because the assumption was if you were getting your GED, you were done. No, factually incorrect. I know a lot of people who took the same fucking route. Let's tackle another male dominated. Oh, I know. Hi, there's my Karen. Um, and yes, your industry is full of dumbass males who like to talk over and at and to women as if they don't have the ability to think freely or speak freely. Yep, true story. In Karen's line of work, men dominate that industry, and it doesn't matter that, you know, you are, or can argue, honestly, in her case, she's got more training, more relevant profile. Like she works at, I'm not going to name the location out of respect for Karen. Let's just say she does a lot of things where you would look at her and say, okay, and I'm going to say this, Karen, just because I'm going to die on this hill with you. You, as a dyslexic, went and accomplished all of this, and yet you were still told, stay in your lane. Again, you were dyslexic, nobody helped you, but you got all of those degrees. You did all of the shit that everybody told you to do. And then you were still put on a leash and told to behave. Because that's what happens in male dominated industries that women like me and Karen and a lot of my friends, the only women that I actually fucking give a shit about, by the way, are the women who have routinely said, fuck you, I can do this and I don't need your permission. And watch me do it better than you, bitch. That's essentially what we do. So those are the women that I'm friends with. We don't give a fuck. We're like, cool, you just challenged us, so let me go do it. Hence, let's put that into perspective. Again, the reason I quit high school wasn't because I couldn't fucking do it. It was because an attorney who had known me since I was like 8, because I grew up in his fucking law firm and I worked for him, was like, what are you doing? You're not learning anything in that school. Go forth and dominate this male dominated industry, meaning the IT world industry. Go do it. Just fucking do it. I did. And I remember saying, well, what are you going to say to my mom? What am I going to tell my mom? Because my mom only cared about me getting a degree. True story on that too. I could wild out and do some fuck shit, and my mom would not be phased. However, if I veered over here and fucked around at school, mm, that's where I got into some shit. And it's okay though, because, she was raised by scholars. Her father was a scholar, her mother was also a scholar. And were gifted. They were, these are people that came over from Germany, and all kind of, I don't need to get into my family lineage. Let's just say that my grandfather did not believe in organized religion, nor did he believe in the bullshit narrative of you have to go to church every Sunday to worship. So the preacher would come to his house and they would have robust debates. And then that preacher would go forth on Sunday, and from the conversation he had with my grandfather, he would do his thing. Same as me. So I come from a very long line of stubborn fuckers who say to societal norms. So let's fast forward to why I'm here and why I'm debating on crowdsourcing this idea of me pulling the trigger on what I'm about to do. So this started because of my third agreement being breached. And within the verbiage of that agreement, it stated if you breach this agreement, because my attorney's a son of a bitch, you breach this agreement, you are out of compliance with the original agreement from 2020. Because again, we had established they were the ones that breached my 2020 agreement, not me. They did this. So imagine my surprise when I'm looking and I'm like, the fuck is this? And, I see some sketchy contracts. I'm like, in a previous life, I'd maybe want to step in and say, don't do that. In fact, I actually let my previous life do that. And like I said, I got to the point that, I've been reporting this shit for years because it was that fucking sloppy. I can't tell you how many times I got other kids' records, like not redacted. I can't tell you how many times I have filed complaints regarding FERPA, confidentiality, you name it. And they've always been in my favor, not the public agency who is tasked with protecting the student data with several levels of protection. They never won. It was always me. Even in 2022, when my son wasn't enrolled in the district anymore, because remember, we had to sue to get out of said district. Yeah, even in 2022, when I caught the dump, I'm not going to say her name or even use a word that I want to use for her. When I caught her talking about my son in another IEP meeting that I was in attendance of, right? I immediately filed a complaint stating they had breached my child's confidentiality as well as my 2020 agreement because they were talking about my son freely in another child's IEP meeting. That's count one. Count two was the information that was being discussed was under the clause of need to know individuals. Nobody in that IEP meeting were named as need to know individuals except for the person who was talking out the side of her fucking neck about my son in another IEP meeting. So, the DOE, Georgia DOE, which again, this is kind of unheard of because, my child was enrolled in public, had been enrolled, and then we put him in private. So they still ruled in the favor of my son, even though he was enrolled in private at the time. Well, funny how federal legislation works. Just because the child is no longer enrolled in your school district does not mean you abdicate your child's confidentiality. And therefore, per the ruling, it is up to the school district to continue protecting those records as if the child were still in attendance. Because, hold on. No. Anyway, because they are legally allowed to keep records until the age of 22. But in the case of children on IEPs, there's a whole different layer in there. But in 2023, when we went back to court, and this brings it up to speed, when we went back to court in 2022, didn't get out until 23, which ended up being a federal fucking lawsuit because my attorney got so goddamn mad. He was like, fuck you. And he went and filed a federal lawsuit regarding confidentiality, which the district had to acknowledge that, yeah, they fucked up and yeah, it was on them. And an ask was made that a part of the agreement would be that I help them remove my personally identifiable information on their public fucking finances. That was a stipulation. And so I was like, oh, do you not know how to do that? Like, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm making nothing on this case. I'm just being an asshole, essentially, and stating you fucked up. You violated your own goddamn agreement. Now we're in federal court, and you want me, as a part of the agreement, to show you, the brainiac who fucked this up, how to remove my shit and how to remove everybody's shit who you have been out here violating forever. So I did. And instead of them understanding what I was doing or understanding how to do what I showed them to do, They literally deleted a column out of the PDF financial report. And then I went into the Excel format and they hid the column. They hid the column. Instead of doing what I said, which was run this query, remove the name, they hid a column in Excel. Awkward. So a lot of my friends got mad because all of a sudden that detail column went missing. Yeah, well, it went missing because I happened. They had to remove it completely because they couldn't, in all of their fucking wisdom, figure out how to run a simple fucking query to clean their shit up. But anyway, people raised hell and they got it back. All right, so during Georgia poll last year, some pretty nasty bills started to appear. Not within the literacy space because at this point I don't give a fuck. Like I've said, don't give a fuck. I'm not in this for that anymore. But I knew whatever literacy bill got pitched would fucking make it because it had been established that the superintendent for the state of Georgia had been lying to everybody for fucking ever. And imagine our surprise when he got in trouble because he had the audacity to get up there in front of the Joint Ed Committee, in front of people like Fran Millar and Sonny Perdue, all of these people that have been brought out of retirement can work in the state as, they were appointed. They were government appointees within education. Imagine our shock when we hear during this Joint Ed Committee, okay, so can you explain to us how you got that number? Where is you? I'm going to sit down for a second. And we're like, and this is the funniest part. And I still have this recorded. I'm sorry, Superintendent Woods, can you do us a favor and let us know where you're getting that data from? Because the data that we have, meaning the governor's office, they have their own education reporting. Meaning they take the data from the Georgia DOE, they scrub it, they interpret it and analyze it appropriately. They generate dashboards and things of that nature. So I had always relied on GOSA data, not Georgia DOE data, because I knew the Georgia DOE was fucking lying. And so after years of me generating these dashboards for the public for no fucking reason other than to prove, you're fucking lying. You're lying. You're graduating functionally illiterate people. And you just keep fucking lying. We get into, so they're in the joint committee, and one of the guys is like, Superintendent Woods, why do your numbers not match anybody else's numbers? Because the start of his presentation, he had a slide because he thought he was going to be cute. And Matt Jones, his former chief of staff, thought it was a good idea as well, as did Rusty Rome and I think 2 other people. They thought it would be a good idea to come drag the governor's data by placing the first slide in that slide deck said, it's not our data, it's yours that's wrong. Oh, well, that was ballsy because you over here getting grilled, getting your ass handed to you, getting whooped so bad you're too scared to even fucking present anything else that you have put up there. In fact, you pivoted over to your boy Matt Jones and then you pivoted over to somebody else. So what is it, Richard? All right. So that was fun to watch. So I wasn't watching any of those fucking literacy bills last year because I already knew we had established finally what I've been saying for years, that the superintendent had been fucking lying with the bullshit data he kept presenting. And I remember Billy Hickman stating in that hearing, so this whole time you've been bragging about graduation rates, only for us to find out that the graduation rates you're bragging about, those kids are functionally illiterate. You're graduating children functionally illiterate. You're sending them into the workforce illiterate. That's what you're telling me right now, is that you are bragging about these numbers and you're not telling the truth as it pertains to the other numbers. The one senator you don't want to make mad is Billy Hickman. And Billy takes the education aspect extremely seriously. He's a CPA. He knows the damage that is caused by graduating functionally illiterate individuals because it fucks up the economy. It fucks up. So the year prior to this, by the way, we had been working with, I want to say Scott, it was either Scott Hilton or Holcomb. I can't, it was one of the two, but we had been working together to prove what we were able to prove what the illiteracy rates and the, financial, harm had been caused due to something as simple as, like I said, graduating kids illiterate. So we've been able to put a dollar figure on how much this is costing taxpayers in the state of Georgia because we keep allowing children to be passed from grade to grade to grade without teaching them to read. This has literally gone on forever. But in the South, it's very, used to be. Because now it appears that everybody up north is finally realizing that, hey, these red states keep doing really well regarding their literacy. Why can't we? This is where Corin kind of comes into play because it's really fucking funny. So I'm kind of getting offside. I'll talk about that later. But let's just say that I went before they went to speak regarding this bill in Massachusetts. It was finally passed. I went in and showed her all of the lobbyists from AFT who were paying every single Democrat on the education committee and on other committees, how much they were lining their fucking pockets to prevent. What did you say? Oh, yeah. So I showed Karn, and then she let Nancy know. Hey, Lauren just showed me how much all of these people are being given by the teacher unions. And not only do we have the local teachers union to deal with, we've got 5 attached to that main branch, meaning AFT. And they're lining the pockets of legislators, which is why this legislation will never see the light of day, which is something I'd already told Nancy. She knew. That is the issue. We had we had a conversation, and prior to you going and doing your amazing job the following day, yeah, I definitely was like, look at all the money these motherfuckers are getting from this teachers union. You're never gonna get this shit passed if you keep relying on Democrats in your state, because the motherfuckers get paid by these folks to not do what you want them to do. So, in red states, this is why we have literacy legislation. In blue states, this is why they don't, because in red states, historically speaking, we don't have teachers unions. And in red states, we abide by local control and don't give a fuck about federal legislation. So we have a tendency to create rules at the local level that override all the fuck shit that comes down from Washington. Because, little known fact, I'm going to give you a history lesson real quick before I get into my other thing. History lesson. Federal legislation, when it hits the local level, is guidance. Guidance. The word is guidance. Meaning, the states adopt it as guidance. They implement best practices from federal legislation because per the feds or any government agency and individuals within your Department of Education in whatever state you're in, it's not their job to adopt it as is. It's their job to codify it at the local level because it's only guidance. My little tip for people. Which is why I'm going to bring this part up now as I'm rambling. So, since my district has had, hold on, who just dropped? Hold on. I think one of my favorite musicians just dropped a song, and I've got to go look. I know it's cheesy, but never mind. Don't give a fuck about that. Anyway, um, so I've been in this legal situation officially since I filed a state complaint that was also sent to the feds. Within an hour, the feds took the complaint and notified me. Within an hour, the U.S. Department of Education called me. And I was shocked. I said, "How did you get my number?" Because reminder, I've been filing complaints for fucking ever, and I've never had the U.S. Department of Education once step in. Never. Even though they had every fucking right to, and they had every obligation to. So they called me. I was like, "Well, how'd you get my number?" Like, "Well, we got your number because you filed that complaint." I'm like, "Yeah, but I didn't copy you in it." They're like, "You didn't have to because the GAO immediately sent that to us because it falls under their purview, meaning the USDOE." I was like, "Oh." And so I was instructed by the U.S. Department of Education to file a complaint with them regarding what I had filed my first complaint against the district for at the state and federal level with the GAO. Okay, kind of fucking weird. This sets the scene for a lot of dumb shit that happens. And in April, I told them if this isn't fixed within this amount of time, I'm obligated as a mandatory reporter when it comes to data, because government clearance and all that, I'm mandated to go report this shit. You only have a small window because anything over 250 individuals is the threshold for reporting. Well, in my case, it was upwards of 300, 400,000 social security numbers that I knew had been breached. Not breached, meaning they hadn't been actively sent out to anybody via bad actors, but they were accessible. And it literally took nothing more than your personal email address that you use to enroll your child, or in the case of Keegan Brooks, who is the one that broke the story in DeKalb County in 2022. In his case, he just used his personal email and his personal laptop, and he was able to see everything I had seen. And so, in 2022, I saw that for myself. I had already known about it. I'd reported it, and then for Keegan to go out there and publish it in his high school. By the way, Chamblee, he was the editor of the newspaper at Chamblee High School, Chamblee Charter High School. And to this day, that shit ain't archived. To this day, that shit still serves as a reminder. You fucked up. Right? And I jumped in front of him. I was like, "Ain't no way in hell you fucking with this kid. Now, you know damn well I done pop job on this shit numerous times. So don't say you haven't seen it." Made sure his parents got their fucking attorneys involved real quick. He was fine. He was left alone. But, huh, you know, when you, as a public agency, enter into a contract with a vendor that states any data that you, as the end user, being the district, any data that you, as the end user, upload belongs to us, and any third-party vendors. At no time are you allowed to shut that access off. You must get written permission from us to remove that data. Now, the end user, being the district, doesn't own that motherfucking server. The vendor does. But I digress. If you're stupid enough to enter into a goddamn contract, where's the federal guidance to say yes? So if you're stupid enough to enter into a contract with a vendor that states that if you do this, then we get to sue you, but in the event you get caught doing some fuck shit and get found out that you're breaching all of this shit, we are not liable. You waive us of any claims and liability. Furthermore, we will not pay for the legal bills, even though the data is hosted on their fucking servers. That's what the contract states. So, my filing was based off of confidentiality. Yet again. The feds entered the picture. State got served, meaning the DOE got served again, second time in that year. Because I'm a bitch. Not really. I'm just adamant that I hold people accountable. Goddamn public school kids, right? Gotta fucking love us, because we gonna do one thing. We're gonna hold somebody accountable for some fuck shit. So they got served again by the GAO, to which that ended up resulting in Matt Jones finally being removed from his position, which, yay, win for me and every kid in Georgia, right? And a lot of other people. The district definitely got served. So there's a narrative out there that this is the hill that the district or the board took. This is what they are willing to die on. They were not in the know of said federal investigation. To which I come back and state, not accurate. Because you knew you were under federal investigation locally. You knew that Devon Horton was under investigation. Here, you knew that your CIO was also under federal investigation because of my complaint. You knew the Georgia poll was also being served, meaning the Georgia General Assembly was getting served because of me. So don't fucking tell people that you did not know. You may want to catch a case of amnesia and say you didn't know about Evanston, but we all know that not to be true because we all saw the motherfucking receipts on that. Now, that happened. So on October 9th. Now, as I'm in the middle of bitch slapping, not really bitch slapping, but basically playing with my food because I was so tired of the bullshit. I was like, hey, come here. Let's have a conversation. Me and you. You and me have a conversation so you stop breaking my attorney's brain because you keep doing shiny fucking object syndrome on him and you're pissing me off. So let me just go fucking answer all your questions that you keep trying to lodge at him that you know are not accurate. So that very same day that I was playing with my food back and forth in email and watching him read the email, I think he read that email like 43 times, up to 45 times. And then all of a sudden, the indictment drops that day. He stops reading my emails and the district goes into oh shit mode. Here's the problem. Just because he got caught don't mean that they ain't still liable. Because they chose to keep the fucker I went into a meeting with that the district set up. The district set the meeting up between myself and the CIO, who the now indicted former superintendent brought to our district with him. I was in a meeting with that CIO to where he immediately asked me to commit a felony in front of him, to which I said, no, fuck you. I don't have an attorney. I'm not stupid. I'm not showing you shit. I'm doing this as a favor to let you know that if you don't fucking shut this down, you're going to get hit with a class action lawsuit. That's where it comes in. Well, I digress. He chose stupid, and he chose to continue to push back, say stupid things to the point that, well, what would you tell me to do? I'm like, well, first and foremost, since you're shiny new as the CIO, because I got the other one fired, um, your first act should have been a comprehensive IT infrastructure audit. Yeah. Um, then, I kind of like rambled off the things, the steps that they should take. Only for him to say, no, 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 we're not doing that. I was like, okay, well, at least shut this down, meaning the program or the database that was harvesting and keeping sensitive data and unknowingly being sent to third parties that nobody knew about until I happened to hear on February 13th when the CEO of said company stated, yeah, we have a back door in this. I'm not going to name the vendor because I don't want to get fucking sued by them. Yeah, we have a back door open, and because he was talking to the Sheriff's Association, and said, you can access that information at any time. We've got that back door. Y'all know about it. You can. When I heard the word back door, I was like, oh, because see, I already knew that program was a SQL program. And because I'm a SQL programmer, I knew how fucking easy it was to extract information from that environment. So it clicked. It clicked, and I was like, this is why I have been able to see all of this. It's because of a fucking back door and sloppy IT. So anyway, homie said he wasn't going to shut it down. Okay. He said what he said. Well, unfortunately for him, and if you live in Georgia, one party consent state when it comes to recording. That also includes video recording of a meeting that's being held virtually. I don't do anything without recording it virtually or recording it as it. So if it's a virtual anything, I'm going to be recording it on my end to have my own fucking copy because I know I've caught folks scrubbing shit post meeting too often in this state. So I simply made sure I had an insurance policy on myself. And then I sent that information to the board after weeks of pleading with Devon Horton to fix it. Per my NDA in 2023, it stated, if any claims arise after this, we are to enter into a conversation. Mom and Dad did not waive their right to sue. That was stated within the agreement 3-4 times. And then furthermore, it also stated that I did not have to retain an attorney to enter in said conversation with the district if a claim arises. So I was doing what I was supposed to do. I simply sent an email saying, hey, you know what? You need to set up a fucking meeting because per this, we need to be in a meeting. They didn't want to fucking do it. And then dumbass Horton wanted to say he didn't get my fucking email. Really? You didn't get my email? What spam, huh? It went to spam? That was literally, it was my email address went to spam. That was the title of the fucking email. Only for me to open the email and see that the very person who attended the meeting with me, meaning his CIO, who 100% got the fucking invite with my email, meaning it wasn't on the spam. They didn't block it because I know for a fact I'd talked to several individuals in the district with that email. No problem. So when I open up the email and I see the CIO in it, I'm like, okay, so that motherfucker knows that it's not spam. But if you want to use this, and if you want to use your in-house counsel to claim that's why you haven't done a fucking thing about this, fine. Choose the stupid route. So I got mad because he chose stupid. And I got to the point where I was like, well, now he's forced my hand because he doesn't want to engage and do it appropriately. So I called a board rep. And I called the board rep that I knew understood technology. Surface level at best. But still, he knows enough. I called him, told him the problem. He had their attorney on my phone within 5 minutes. Again, my son was in the car. My 16-year-old was in the car, and he heard the conversation, and he heard this individual ask, "How much is this going to cost? What do I need to do to make this go away?" Was said way too often in that phone call. Then my son got to watch as she read my email repeatedly and downloaded everything. So, I'm gonna sit down for a second again. We've established that at no time did I attempt to extort anybody. I was acting in good faith. I don't know why I'm holding these. I was acting in good faith. I was trying to prevent the district from fucking themselves up again. I gained nothing monetarily from doing that. I wasn't extorting them. I was trying to prevent a data privacy nightmare. Well, unbeknownst to me, the CIO, who was defiant as fuck, had been doing this already in Kentucky. And unbeknownst to me, this has also been being done in Evanston, where he was indicted, meaning the superintendent. So the CIO in my district worked for the indicted superintendent in Kentucky. Yeah. So I definitely got a call from the DOJ in Chicago after that indictment dropped. To which I replied with, "How did you get my phone number?" Their reply, "Your federal complaint." I'm like, oh, because by this point, I filed it at the end of April. I, and mind you, I had the conversation with the board rep. I had a conversation with their attorney. And then I also sent proof of said meeting to the board. That's Horton's employer. I sent his employer proof said meeting took place, but their boy kept saying it didn't take place. Sorry, us doing that. We've established I did all the things, and at no time was I extorting them. At no time was I saying I'm going to go wild out. I wasn't doing that. But my emails did say I am legally obligated to report this to the feds. So fucking fix it. They didn't. So I reported to the feds. Anyway, the GAO gets in within an hour and they find merit to investigate. And then I think sometime in June. June. The GAO had done a comprehensive investigation to which they no longer could handle the investigation on their own because there had been such a breach and such horrid things done with no consent from parents, stakeholders, or anybody. They were obligated, or they, in their email stated, "We have proactively sent the OIG and U.S. Department of Education into the district to continue investigating this due to what we have found, but unfortunately, it's out of our purview. So the OIG and the DOE need to do this now." I'm like, oh. So this was during the time when we were playing Let's Make a Deal. They wanted to make a deal. No, they didn't. They wanted to. They never followed through with it. So the phone call happens, and prior to that phone call happening on July 1st, which, by the way, the reason July 1st is very relevant is because the fucked up bill that I had been tipped off about, I was engaged in, I had literal, house reps sending me the fucking bill. I had all these other folks, that work under the Gold Dome sending me the bills to approve before they fucking go anywhere. I was actively I got asked to kill that fucking bill by two individuals who will always remain nameless. And I did. And that shit still passed. Anyway, there was a clause in that bill that by July 1st, a set of events would take place. And by July 1st, that also meant that a handful of individuals within the district would be covered by the an immunity clause that Chris Carr inserted into the fucking bill. sketchy. I digress. It's Chris Carr, so he thought I was really fucking smart. Um, Wish I could make this shit up. So the immunity clause starts July 1st. I get a phone call July 1st. The first thing I'm asked is, did you get your check? Meaning my son's tuition. I said no. Second question. Is there a reason that you didn't that you're not participating in mediation? Well, I replied, because you guys have known about this and you have refused to engage appropriately and tell the state of Georgia that you agree to mediation. So why the fuck should I continue to allow you to stall? Because if I leave this sitting like this, it gives you grounds to say that, well, we did try and work on this, but due to Miss Taylor doing this, we meh. I was like, I'm not gonna leave that shit out there, so I pulled it. And to which she said, well, so she said a lot of things. A lot. Enough for me to be like, oh, and during this time, the district thought it was a really good idea to start tossing their outside counsel at me in emails. Now, when I was emailing, what I wasn't emailing about anything that they were involved with. I was emailing about an ongoing process that takes place every motherfucking year per an agreement. So imagine my shock and when they come back at me and they're like, we've told you to only speak to us as we're handling this matter. I'm like, okay, again, you are not named within that agreement. So I sent it for shits and giggles. I sent the screenshot to my attorney. Now, I didn't know my attorney's history with this outside counsel. Enter my attorney out of fucking nowhere. I don't think I've ever seen that man so goddamn giddy. Like, because he was like, oh, you have chosen this route with because I'm one of his advocates. Like, well, when I was advocating. So I have him because as well as my mentor, we are his advocates that he sends in lieu of just him going. Because there's a lot of things that we can handle that don't warrant an attorney. So we do it. Or at least we did. I don't do it anymore. Anyway, so they get into a pissing contest and finally it gets to the point of mediation. Shit's flying back and forth. I'm able to puncture holes within the whole conversation of, well, we contacted this person at the DOE and said, yes, we agree to enter into mediation with Miss Taylor, blah, blah, blah. They said the date and time. I'm like, okay. And so, I think like maybe 3 days go by and I still have nothing. So I initiate a conversation with the DOE and ask, hey, I'm just curious. I had a conversation with these folks and they said that they had told you that they wanted to enter into mediation with me. And that's when the state tossed them under the bus and said, no, they have not agreed. Miss Taylor, you and I literally spoke earlier this week and there has been no communication. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Well, within 5 minutes of that reply, they were made aware, meaning the state was made aware by outside counsel that they agreed to participate. And by that point, I was in the car on the way to Oklahoma to visit my family because they had been overseas. So I was like, nah, I ain't fucking engaging in this shit. Go talk to my lawyer. Y'all hash it out. I don't give a fuck. Go talk. So there was a theme within all the communication, all the emails about they wanted me gone by. Now, when I say they being the board, wanted me gone by. First, it was August. Then it was September. So there was a date, a hard date. They wanted me gone. They wanted to settle everything. So I would stop fucking with them and or finding ways to sue them. Okay. Imagine my surprise when we're in September and, they had asked for like 3 dates. We gave them the dates, and then like the day before the dates that we were supposed to meet, like there had been no fucking communication. And then the only communication that came through to my attorney from them was some fuck shit. That's a felony. And that's when I said, fuck you. No, I ain't doing that. I'm not going to hack into a database of 5 million. No. So I did me and I rescinded my goddamn mediation and I told them to fuck off. And I tossed a whole bunch of attorneys, a whole bunch of uh, senators, House reps, you name it, into that email. So the district knew the DOE wasn't the only one hearing this. It was going to be a whole bunch of other people they had to answer to. Anyway, so then they immediately go, not they, immediately goes back to my attorney and wants to keep negotiating. To which, okay. But then it was just dumb question after dumb question that didn't relate to, didn't even wasn't relevant. And, I was actually literally, like I said, I was being asked to commit a felony which I didn't know was to cover for the fuck shit that hit on October 9th. I didn't know they were trying to use me as the fucking fault person. I just knew inherently that no, that's fucking stupid and I'm not going to do that. So fuck off. I don't care. I will drag your ass to federal court. So yeah, I got irritated because this whole process stalled out. They stopped talking, they stopped speaking, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now my choices are slim to none. Now, the feds are still investigating the district that Horton was removed from due to being indicted up in Evanston. They're still under investigation. It's that fucking bad. All right, and I'm placed in a position where I'm like, well, goddamn, I'm gonna have to sue these motherfuckers again because they ain't gonna do anything. They just out here waiting to see if I'm gonna do it. So I did. To which my attorney was like, God damn it. I was like, yo, we've already played this fucking part. We've already done this once before. And if I hit my wall, I'm gonna pull fucking stunts. And I've hit my goddamn wall. I'm fucking done. I want out of this. I maintained. I want out of the district. I want the district to get my fucking name out of their mouths. I want the district to remove all of my fucking data, all of my child's data, all of my husband's data, all of my parents' data, all of the data that that belongs to me, because I did not consent to allow them to upload this shit into a fucking program that sends it to the feds. I didn't consent to that, y'all. Nobody in the district consented to that. Because within an email that was drafted by their then attorney in 2017 for somebody who no longer works here, we now host all vital records within insert vendor. But you're going to try and tell me I don't know what I know. Bitch, that shit was in my fucking inbox. And I used it as an exhibit when I filed due process. Actually, when I filed due process this time around, I actually amended my original, so my original complaint, that was the one that hit the state and federal level, right? That one, plus, I'm laughing at the email I just got because it's really fucking ironic. Hold on. Just let me see the email because I just want to laugh. I want to laugh. Okay, so I just got a response because this is a public process now, mind you. I didn't do anything illegal, so if my attorney sees this, it ain't illegal. But these motherfuckers have sent me an invite for the public hearing on who gets the legal bid on Thursday. It's a public process. They can't legally prevent me from seeing this RFP bid process. Anyway, so I filed an expedited hearing. Within, when I filed it, I sent it to the people I had to send it to, and I was like, do me a favor, don't send 6 fucking attorneys at me. You know I'm obligated to send this email to you to make you aware. Well, they didn't send 6 attorneys my way this time. Instead, they slid up into my attorney's email. My attorney didn't even know I had pulled that fucking stunt. He didn't know I pulled the trigger because I didn't fucking tell him. I was like, I don't give a fuck. And so all of a sudden, I see emails going back and forth, and I'm like, yep. Why is homie acting like a whole asshole in this email, dragging me, slandering me, calling me, like, refusing to refer to me as the client or Miss Taylor? He continuously refers to me as mom. That's all he ever says is mom. Mom, 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 mom. And he was saying some very stupid shit, and to which my attorney took personal because, again, this is somebody I work with professionally. So you fucking with me at a whole different level when you do that. I digress. He still did it. And to which my attorney replied back, and all of a sudden, let's just say the reply back from the outside counsel was that of a puppy begging for scraps. It was no longer, I'm beating my chest saying this out loud. It was, oh, I'm sorry, can we please discuss this type? Yeah. So I went from this to that within one email because my attorney had finally hit his threshold of giving a fuck. And when he hits that threshold, it's always fun, but it always sucks for the other individual. So it was an expedited, and furthermore, within that email, and I'm not violating anything because, again, I'm not saying names, I'm not naming names, I don't give a fuck. From in the email that he sent to my attorney, he said he was going to file a motion to have my shit dismissed because it was a weak case and a weak claim and there was no merit. I'm like, says fucking who? So it was really funny for me to see the ALJ get the case, acknowledge the case, and put it on the fucking calendar within 4 days of me filing it. The ALJ has the ability to kick it out if they don't find it sufficient. They didn't kick it. So the very day they put it on the docket with an expedited hearing date, outside counsel immediately approaches my attorney and says, we need a motion to stay so we can mediate. November 17th. November 20th, the motion to stay has been adopted. Okay. So, in theory, we should be mediating. Because when you go into due process, they've got set dates and timelines. So, day 10, day 15, all of these days matter, right? So, by day 15, you as the district have now, if you have not filed a motion to dismiss, you're outside of the window to do so. So, on day 15, I find out, because they were fucking crickets again, right? Nothing. I find out that the reason that I had heard nothing, or that my attorney had heard nothing, was because they didn't actually approach the Georgia Department of Education to enter into mediation until day fucking 15. Now, we were supposed to have a pre-conference hearing the day after the board meeting. That was last week. But because somebody likes to stall all the fucking time and use it as a way to just get billable hours, yeah. We are going into January. So I'm 25 days out and of an expedited hearing that I requested because I know my shit. I got my shit ready and I will fucking drop all of it. Unfortunately, and I'm not bashing my attorney. I adore him. I love him. I mean, God knows this man has been to hell and back with me. I mean, and he don't have to do it. He don't have to do it, but that motherfucker takes it personal. And so we get to the where we're at now. Well, what I filed a record request in November prior to me filing due process. So in November, I was not in a legal proceeding, so I was well within my right to file the open record request, and I got my records. I only got my records after I had to sling a slew of federal legislation at them that overrode OCGA and whatever dumb policy they were trying to use. I got my records. Well, within those records, I was like, oh, what is this? Within my records, I see that the email states you can only open this file with the email address this has been sent to. Okay, so let me one up you. Why is it when I open the records, I used a different email address and it fucking let me in? So you still want to say you have encrypted? You know how much money they spent? They spent upwards of $125 million to do the IT infrastructure, to redo everything, and the fucking irony that I was able to get my kids' records with a different, and the thing is, I didn't even register it was a different email address because I assumed she was emailing that email that I had sent the ORO to. So I got in and I saw my kids' records. I downloaded everything and I was like, yo, go ahead and tell your fucking department, like, IT department to fucking wipe my shit because I had to, they made me agree to this before I could see my fucking records. So I go back and then I'm like, well, let me go look. I'm gonna go check something. And so I go back to the email. I'm like, that email said I was only supposed to use the email that they had sent that file to. So let me do that. So I open the records with that email. And lo and behold, what do I find? I find out that they implemented they implemented something that I had already filed a complaint about at the federal level under my other personal address that they provisioned on their fucking server. I didn't do it. They provisioned it. So I find out that they have not only been harvesting data on that email address, but they had been keeping the data of my other email address, which I had used to enroll my son in the district with. I found out quickly that they were not only tracking me with Clear ID, but they had not deactivated my account on their server. Now, per my 2020 agreement, I had to sign documents. And I wanted to sign them because I wanted all of my shit wiped off of their fucking servers. We weren't enrolled. We weren't coming back. And so I signed it. I sent it. They said, okay, in receipt, we will erase all records. It's in the fucking agreement. I can pull it up at any fucking time. So imagine my shock when I see that not only did they not delete that, they implemented Thomas Reader's Clear ID on my fucking personal email address, which is supposed to be dormant because my kid ain't enrolled in the district. And per my fucking legal agreement in 2020, they were supposed to wipe my shit from their server. Per my agreement in 2023, which landed in federal court, they were supposed to wipe my shit. We're about to be in 2026. So this is where I'm crowdsourcing. Now, what I'd show what I put up earlier, right? I'm, again, dying laughing that I've got this invitation in my inbox to see who gets the legal bid tomorrow. That, in its essence, is like the funniest shit ever. I have this complaint that I have filed for the feds because once again I have found the district to fuck around and find out. They're in the position to fuck around and find out yet again because they've now breached more than confidentiality. They have now done some things at the federal level that they likely don't even understand because board reps aren't in the habit of being told what happens if you do this. So my crowdsourcing is, if you were in a legal setting with these folks who you had been proactively protecting and trying to prevent being hit with a class action lawsuit, even though you've got the field office in Atlanta, meaning the DOJ and the FBI in Atlanta, telling you, begging you, calling you, saying, file the fucking complaint with us so we can start the lawsuit. That's been in my email box since June. And the DOJ and FBI in Georgia has continued to contact me, wanting me to initiate the class action lawsuit. They want me to allow them that data, give them that data, so they can go forth and fuck the district up. I ain't kept this shit secret from anybody. I let them know, yo, look, do you want to listen to the fucking voicemail where they started laughing because Chris Cora and that fucking immunity? Do you want to hear the conversation? Because I'll fucking give it to you. Do you want to hear the phone call where CISA and DHS hung up on me not once but twice whenever I mentioned Devon Horton? Twice. I've recorded those phone calls too. I don't know what it's going to take at this point to get my peace, to get the ability to do what I'm doing right now, which is something as simple as make a fucking Christmas present for my child's teacher and be a mom and a wife. What is it going to take for that to be afforded to me when I have entered into 3 fucking lawsuits in an attempt to get the fuck away from you? If you want to know why I still download the data, it's because if I don't download the data, I know these motherfuckers are going to pull some shit and someone's going to be flailing around like, fuck, I wish I would have had that. So I inherently do that. So this is another thing. During the time when they were supposed to be in mandatory, like we set a hard date, right? And that, I'm not going to even get into the verbiage in those fucking emails. But anyway, during that time, imagine my surprise when all of a sudden I'm opening, like I do every month, the fucking financial records and I see my goddamn name and all my personal information, all the things that we sued over in 2022 was back in their fucking public finances. That shit has been out there since August. I told them. My attorney told them. I have made videos of myself accessing my shit publicly. Only for the dumb motherfucker to even have the audacity to once again say, I need her to show us that. Fuck you. He sent you. You get the video. It's out there. I've already pulled it today. I've already done my fucking due diligence and made the video again today. So I just want to know, and that's why I'm crowdsourcing. Should I just go ahead and send this shit to the feds? Should I allow a district that I have had to now enter into a legal proceeding with 3 fucking times, one of which was a federal goddamn IDA lawsuit that they fucking lost? Should I continue to afford these assholes the ability to wild out and fuck with me and refuse to give me my goddamn peace and quiet that I have more than fucking earned. I just want to know. I'm crowdsourcing because my attorney's over here like, don't fucking do it. Why would you need to? Why are you mandatory? Why do you have a mandatory obligation to even do that? Again, go look at my fucking LinkedIn. It's not exactly like, it's not secret. It shows what I do, and it shows my title. It shows who the fuck I work for. If you don't understand that I work for a company that literally hosted the fucking infrastructure for Blackwater, that ain't on me. Okay? But yeah, I did. So the government clearance and all the shit I had to do to get the ability to do what I do makes me a mandatory fucking reporter. If I don't report it, then my fucking credentials from 30 years of hard fucking work go down the goddamn drain. I ain't fucking losing my hard work to these assholes. I'm not gonna do it. Ain't no way no. They're not gonna get that shit. They're not gonna get that from me. They don't deserve it. They don't. So, I'm just gonna state a couple of things. This is the basis of it. The district has violated every section under U.S. Code 20, Education under Records. I have placed one of said codes below as it speaks to the gross negligence of the district and their outside counsel entering said contract as a public agency who is in receipt of federal monies. Subsection, people, I'll fuck people up when I get into that, but anyways, all right. Information is specifically authorized by federal law. Any data collected by such officials shall be protected in a manner which will not permit the personal identification of students and their parents by other than those officials, meaning the public agency that, right? Okay, so then it states, okay, it must be destroyed when no longer needed for such audit, evaluation, and enforcement of a federal legal requirements. For data is specifically authorized by federal law, and any data collected by such officials with respect to individual students shall not include information including social security numbers, which would permit the personal identification of such students or their parents after the data had been obtained and collected. That's federal fucking law. Each educational agency or institution maintain a record. Keep with the education records for each student, indicating individuals, agencies, or organizations who obtain access to the student's records, meaning they are to disclose who they have allowed access to the student's records, which include mom and dad's records. At the legitimate interest in obtaining such information, that such record of access shall be available only to parents, school officials, and their assistants, having responsibility for the custody of such records and as a means of auditing the operation of the system for provisions that, with respect to subsection of this section, all persons, agencies, or organizations desiring access to the records of a student shall be required to sign forms to be kept with the records of the student, but only for inspection by the parents or the student, indicating specifically the legitimate educational or other interest of the person seeking such information, and that the form shall be available to parents and school officials having responsibility for record maintenance as a means of auditing and operation of the system. To any educational agency or institution, unless the recipient of such funds, it basically, it just goes on to say, because you are a recipient of federal monies, this subsection and this fucking complaint that I'm about to fucking launch this section out of like 9 is really fucking damning, because when you're out here signing contracts that you solicited in 2023 when you were brand fucking shiny new, and your girl, Sarita, who needed to go back to fucking Chicago with you, your girl solicited Thomas Reuters Clear ID. There was no fucking bid. There's no fucking RFP. And the ones that I found were fucking post-dated to cover the tracks of the fact that this lady has been in conversations with these folks since, I think, like, November 2023. He started in July of 23. By November of 23, Sarita was in contact with a government entity. And the contract has the descriptor codes of what they purchased and their government fucking contracts. One of them is training AI. So, this is for crowdsourcing purposes only. PSA to everybody. Because, there's been the whole argument, Lauren, it's no big deal, data breaches happen all the time. I don't give a fuck about that. I never did. I didn't care about that. I mean, like I said, though, the argument of PowerSchool or Texas v. PowerSchool is what sold Devon Horton out, because on page 9 of the 89-page fucking docket, Devon Horton is right fucking there, named under the CISA DHS school safety panel, which, by the way, is public on his fucking Facebook. Who does that? Him. He does it. So, if you were me, and you've done everything you can, and you have taken the L's, and you've done everything, and you haven't tried to extort shit, and you're not using it as a bad act or nothing. I mean, like, now, I'll say this, the PowerSchool breach that happened a year ago, that shit happened to every single fucking school district. Georgia got hit. DeKalb got hit. Now, listen to this. This is the fucking caveat. If you as a public entity who are in receipt of federal monies are notified by a vendor that your data has been breached, you must notify all users of said platform of said breach. So why the fuck has the district not placed that information publicly on their website, as they are legally obligated to do as a public agency taking federal monies? Bare fucking minimum, that should have been done, but it's not. So an argument can also be lodged that, well, they know that our data was breached in the PowerSchool breach, because 3 people have already been fucking arrested in that breach for extorting individuals whose data they got. Which is why Texas filed their goddamn lawsuit against PowerSchool. So, there's multiple angles that I can fucking take. But I'm still going to choose to abide by what I said. Consent is consent. Confidentiality is confidentiality. I don't give a fuck about your personal feelings or what you think your argument is. What I have on my ready to hit send, this motherfucking thing that I'm about to hit send on, you are all gonna find out that y'all are not above getting your asses whooped by the feds for doing some fuck shit, like signing a contract with a government fucking agency. By the way, let's talk about the other government contract, which is also sending data to Harvard to study AI and train AI. So Thomas Reuters Clear, as well as Harvard, are using data from parents and children in the school district without parents and children's fucking consent to train AI. In the state of Georgia, on Friday of last week, we had a whole subcommittee studying AI and social media, right? The fucking recommendation from that committee, which was bipartisan, was the state of Georgia is going to implement legislation that bans the use of AI. I don't give a fuck what the Oompa Loompa said. If It's an executive order. It's nothing more than a piece of fucking paper. You have to actually codify it in law. So states have the right to ban AI. Plus, we're one of the first fucking states to ban this. We took cell phones out of the goddamn classrooms. That's a bill that passed. Overwhelmingly. Guess what? Behavior incidents have gone down. Kids are actually engaging with each other. They're talking to each other again. They're not like this and scrolling on social media all day. While they should be learning. And you know what they stated? That their findings were that the districts that did this, because DeKalb is one of the pilot districts, they stated the hardest problem regarding implementing this is the fact that the parents seem to be a little too attached. And, as Mr. Rivera, referring to Grant Rivera from Marietta City Schools, who also implemented this, and this is the principal from DeKalb stating, and as Mr. Rivera stated, children need to learn how to do life without their parents managing every single moment of their life. Children need to be given the opportunity to learn from lived experiences without mom and dad there. It's now referred to free range or whatever it's like, but it's also how I was raised. It's how Gen X, it's how we were raised. They were raised to go forth, fuck up, find out what the repercussions of that, and don't fucking do it again. That's how we were fucking raised. They had a literal commercial at 9 o'clock every night. Do you know where your kid is? What are you saying? Okay. Lack of informed consent is not only specific to AI. In schools, we regularly collect, having the option to opt out isn't sufficient. I know. So here's, and that too. So here's the thing. You're legally obligated under this subsection that I've got in my fucking complaint. You're legally obligated as the public agency taking federal funding. You're legally obligated to provide another option to mom and dad if they do not agree to having their shit uploaded into a database. You are obligated to offer that. But I digress. Not this district. No. No district in the state of Georgia fucking does that. So again, I have at least 10 counts, federal fucking counts, that I can go pull some shit with on the General Assembly as well. And they fucking know it because I done told them. I'm like, I'm gonna come fuck up y'all's shit show of Georgia poll at this point. Wait, who? What? What's this? Okay, yeah. So I got like 9, 10, I don't know. They keep going up. But again, I'm just trying to I'm crowdsourcing this because if you were me and you've done everything you were obligated to do, you behaved, you didn't wild out, you didn't say disparaging comments or any of that shit, like, you to the point that I actually shut all my fucking social media down, my public social media, my public platform that I have spent years building because of my advocacy. I shut that shit down because I was being fucking stalked by outside counsel. I have had more than just my data illegally harvested. I have been stalked, harassed, threatened, and asked to commit a fucking felony. Not once, but twice now. So should I continue to give them the ability to live their best fucking life with a $3 billion piggy bank and fuck me over at the same time? Going into Christmas, My attorney wants me to behave, but unfortunately, I'm not in the habit of behaving when I know my parental and procedural safeguards, and when I know that they're being stomped on. And I know that the other side, who's supposed to be playing this appropriately per the judge's orders and has already been bitch slapped by the fucking ALJ for wilding the fuck out, I know that I'm legally allowed to say, nah, fuck you. Let me do this. Let me expedite this shit for you. So it's really a conscience thing. Yeah, it's more of a conscience thing. Should I be? Nah. You know what? I think I've answered my own question. They are telling him an option. Yeah, it's a violation. So Karin, by the way, y'all, for everybody to understand, Karin is not even like in the whole advocacy space like I am. Like she don't even deal with the fucking federal shit that I deal with. But her profession is so fucking strict, right? As it pertains to data. She's saying the shit that I already fucking know. So if her profession is that fucking strict when it comes to data, because of the same federal fucking legislation, why would the school district be afforded immunity from me saying, fuck you? This is what you are obligated to do under this subsection of U.S. Code because you take federal funding monies as a public agency. The fuck should I give them grace for? Why should I give them any more fucking grace? You know what, though? And that's what I did this morning. Let's just say I hope somebody gets met with some non-friendlies this week. Because this morning I called some people. Think of it as a follow-up to what I started at the end of April. Because the complaint hasn't officially been lodged yet. But somebody was made aware of it. And their analysts are in the process of logging that information to initiate yet another federal fucking investigation. So keep fucking with me. Keep fucking with me. And if my lawyer happens to see this again, I'm so sorry if you think I'm going rogue. I'm not rogue. I'm not rogue. Again, this is what, as Karin put the other day, and this was my interpretation of it. It's not Karin's, it's mine. My interpretation of what she said was, courage is a privilege that is not afforded to everyone. And this is my interpretation of it. Courage is not a privilege to women because the moment that women stand 10 toes down and say, fuck you, you're not going to do that. The moment we do that, instead of being congratulated like men are for doing their fucking job or doing whatever fucking toxic masculinity bullshit they get graduate or congratulate, and instead of doing that, right? Women get called a bitch, over emotional, in their feelings. We are called every name in the fucking book other than somebody having the ability to have the courage to go forth and say, this is not acceptable. That's how I interpreted courage as privilege. Women are routinely policed when we show courage because we are assumed to be a bitch, or we are assumed automatically to be out of our fucking lane because we didn't abide by whatever the fucking societal norms are and because we didn't obey in advance. That's my interpretation of it's a privilege for to display courage for women. Now here's the thing. It's not a sexist thing because you know who else comes after us? Women. Women come after women when we put our foot down and say, fuck you, no, you will not pass. All the fucking time. All the time. We get hit with that by women more than we get hit with that by men. So it's not just a one-sided, like, oh, only men do that. Women do that. I got a lot of them in my fucking life that I'm living rent-free in their motherfucking head still to this day. All because I said, no, fuck you, I don't agree, and I'm not going to abide by whatever fuck shit you have just hurled in my direction. No, you ain't going to tell me to sit down, shut up, get in the corner, behave, don't do anything until we fucking ask you to come out and do it. Literally. I got blackballed in my own goddamn state because I said that. I'm like, go ahead, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck everybody that comes along with you. Fuck all these organizations that ain't doing shit. Guess what? I at no time dropped the fucking receipts to prove that they did that. You know how they got found out? They gave themselves away when the conference, the IDA conference, hit Georgia. They showed their fucking asses to everybody in real time. So I didn't have to drop the motherfucking receipts. They did it them damn selves. And guess what? I still live rent-free in these motherfuckers' heads because automatically after that shit happened, I got a fucking message from that one person, that one woman in that organization that they thought I was neutral with. I got a fucking message from her, which tells me I'm still living rent-free in your fucking heads. Y'all need to get a fucking hobby. And maybe just stick to the all means all, not just the rich kids. You know. And stop stealing my shit. Sorry, I just had to say that. But yeah, Karin, I'm always going to quote you. And I'm always going to give you your everything because you've worked just as fucking hard, if not harder than anybody I know, to get where you're at and to do what you do. You don't deserve the shit that comes your way. And you don't deserve people online stealing your fucking work on Twitter and taking credit for it. So again, I'm gonna start fucking watermarking everything you fucking say. Because ain't nobody gonna take your goddamn hard work. Especially considering the fact they ain't dyslexic and you are, so you defied, literally, you defied every fucking odd put against you. You weren't supposed to make it. You weren't supposed to be where you are in life. Statistically, you weren't supposed to be able to make it there. But you did. Just like Adrian. Just like my fucking sister. So I take it personally. If people fuck with folks who are statistically supposed to be in jail, addicted to drugs, or dead, I take it a little personal when somebody steals their shit. It's that simple. I'm not a bitch. I just have morals. And it's really fucked up for y'all to fuck with people who have had to live a life you've never had to fucking live because you're fucking privileged. And that being said, bye, love y'all, and we'll see what happens with this lovely fucking complaint. Alright, talk to you later, Karin. What do I hit now? Oh, wait, hold on. End. It's supposedly ending now, you guys. I don't know. Is it? It's spiraling. Whatever. Don't care. I do need to eat though. I'm hungry. I gotta get my son too. Why is it taking so long to end? It's being a bitch. You know, who cares? Don't care. Let me get my shits and go. Why is it being a bitch, though? It's kind of fucked up. It's like everybody gets to see me Did I not do something right? Oh, wait, let me shut that end. Oh, it end. End.